Hello, my name is Alan, and today I'm facilitating the second of 4 sessions of my PBTA game of Dark Age Monster Hunters, Eotenweard. This is the first time that one of our players has joined us. He couldn't make last week, so we are back to full strength day 4, and with any luck, these 4 characters will continue through. This session was organised as part of the Gauntlet RPG community's monthly games calendar. If you don't know the Gauntlet, please do look us up. We have a Patreon, which we'd love you to support, which helps support podcasts, a bit of publishing, well, more than a bit of game publishing, actually, an increasing, should I say, amount of game publishing. But it's basically a great community of people. And if you'd like to try playing with us, then again, I have to check my calendar every time I do this. It is in October the 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th. We are running a Gauntlet Con. This will be the 3rd of our free online opportunities to play online, to encourage people to move their games online in the current circumstances, and also to encourage them to come play with us, because we like new people. And the registration for that, I think, opens, or the selection of games for that opens, I think it's 5 p.m. my time, so that's probably about 2 p.m. Eastern, I think, on the 1st of October. But if you go to our webpage, you will find all the details. 10 a.m. Eastern, thank you. Oh, that's probably earlier than I thought it was then for me. I must check my times. The other thing that I want to say is that we pride ourselves on our table culture at the Gauntlet, and so we are today playing with the kind of standard set of safety tools I use, and those recommended by the Gauntlet. We're playing within the Gauntlet Code of Conduct, which is a great document helping to sustain and grow that table culture. All of these players have played with the Gauntlet before and played with me before, so I'm not going to go into enormous detail, but we are playing with lines and veils and the X card. And the door, we have an open door, so if at any point this is not the game for you, or stuff happens in real life, the door is there, it is left open for use. With, I think, no further ado, I will ask the players to introduce themselves, tell us something about the character that they're playing, and give us, a brief insight of where they feel we left session 1. So I'll go reverse character keeper order, if that's okay, because I want to come to Pavel last, because he is introducing his character now, and I've got a love letter for him. So let me start. Bodhi, say hello and tell us something about Icenius.
Hello, I'm Bodhi, they, them pronouns, and yeah, I'm playing Icenius, a sword of God, a somewhat conflicted sword of God, who is, if I bring up my character sheet here, is in somewhat less debt to God than we thought at the end of last time, because he didn't, in the end, he got another opportunity to steal the box that he was instructed to acquire by his god, and he's convinced that our pagan mystic is a vessel of St. Michael, as described in a prophecy. Everyone else is less convinced of this, and should have turned in our outlaw Black Russel, but didn't, because he saved my life. And so yeah, that's Icenius, a Frankish sword of God.
Yes, and then moving along, Lowell, say hello and tell us about Cunobacha, our pagan mystic.
So Cunobacha is fairly young for a mystic. He, him pronouns, but they, he has somewhat ambiguous gender. He is sort of powered by having a bad temper, as we saw last time, which is his somewhat downfall. Wrath is what guides him, but wrath is also what allowed him to successfully strike at this shapeshifter last time, who was attempting to seize this box away from another person who was very unpleasant. So there were no good guys in that particular situation, us included, because we were trying to escape from their justice. But that being said, he was pretty much sort of following along with Russell because Russell is his cousin, and Cunobacha may be involved in a situation that Russell did that caused a lot of problems. And Icenius, I still don't know what to make of him. His belief in some sort of prophecy regarding me bothers me deeply, but I'm not going to speak of that. And that's who Cunobacha is.
Yes, they're an interesting pair bound by this prophecy. Moving along, Paul, say hello. Tell us something about Black Russel the Outlaw.
Hello, I'm Paul, he, him, and I'm playing the character Black Russel the Outlaw, also he, him. And I probably caused a lot of hassle last week for the party by running into a former target of my assassination attempts that I ended up killing his wife and not him. And that, combined with some of the larceny, got us into quite a bit of trouble last week. Yeah, that's pretty much where we sit with Black Russel.
Indeed, and yes, it's Godfred of Len, isn't it? Who is your nemesis?
Yes.
Who is some miles away? Is Len, but he did turn up in the north of England yesterday, last time. Okay, and finally, Pavel, say hello and tell us something about Hoel from Stroden.
Hello, so I'm Pavel, and I'll be playing Hoel from Stroden, who is a monster hunter. He's mostly bald with like a big beard. He carries a large axe, and he is someone who you call when you have a bit of a monster problem. You send letters or spread the word around, and maybe he comes when he's around. He helps people. He's I would say a little bit sarcastic toward the gods because his approach is that the gods that the gods treat us as pawns, and no matter whether they are Christians or Celtic, but he's Celtic himself, so he sometimes so he pays his respect to Woden, Tyr, and other happy bunch of Celtic gods.
That's a fine start because I want to go on now and just talk about, we'd established some relationships between the other characters last time. I'd like to integrate what we know about the relationships between Hoel and the others at this point. Now, you've put 3 debts of honor that you would like to have in play. Let's see if anybody wants to pick them up. So there's the one at the top of the list is this character doesn't trust you, but for some reason you trust them. Ask them why and owe them. So is there anyone, is there another character who wants to pick that one up? The other one's a character who has hunted with you before. Ask them what, when, and owe them. And one was your childhood friend and helped you then. Ask them why you fell out later and owe them. So, anyone like to pick up the top one? Doesn't trust you, but for some reason you trust them.
I have my eye on the second one, so that's why I'm staying silent now.
Okay, well, let's go to the second one, see if we come back to that first one.
I'll take the first one.
Oh, go on then, Lowell.
I'll take the first one. If Russell isn't going to grab that, since it's a little obvious, I'll take that one.
Yeah, who trusts the outlaw?
Yeah. Essentially, I think given what Hoel has said about the gods, that would certainly normally create some tension. And I think that conversations that I've heard you, the comments that you've made have made me mistrust how you'll react to the scene. Mm-hmm. But I'm fairly reliable, and I have power, and I don't use my power for like mystic seeing in the distance. I use it to strike people down, which I assume gains you a little bit of respect.
Yes, because you are, because I can claim to be the hammer of the gods, but you are really you can like summon the god's hammer.
Yeah,
Awesome.
usually in the form of a pack of hounds we discovered last time.
Yes.
So we'll see whether they reappear this time.
So I make that you owe them 1.
Yep, that's right. So that will show as a -1. Yeah.
Okay.
Just to check, you mentioned Celtic gods, but you are a Saxon pagan, yeah? Tyr, Thunor, Woden, and the rest.
Yes. Oh, him. Yeah,
Are you
sorry.
asking me or
No, you
Cunobacha?
Hoel is a pagan Saxon, yeah?
Are there different pagans?
Yeah, there are. So there are pagan Britons and pagan Saxons. The gods you mentioned are distinctly Saxon.
So I think yes, pagan Saxon.
Fine, fine. Oh, that gives us a good mix. That's fine. Right. I think Icenius was expecting interest in, has hunted with you before, ask them what, when, and owe them. Is that okay? So what have you hunted and when, Icenius?
I think that I ran into Hoel soon after I first came to Britain on my kind of mission, and given that I'm part of effectively a kind of proto-military order, it's kind of before the time period of true military orders, but kind of I'm sworn to kind of defend against darkness. We found ourselves to be kind of unlikely allies, but pursuing the same goal at one point. And I think I respect Hoel's skills, if not his motivations.
Hoel, do you want to specify what you are hunting? Or do you want to leave that open? You don't have to.
I think there was some greatly overgrown two-headed four-armed bear.
That's added to our bestiary in this game. Thank you. And then finally, you want to have, was your childhood friend and helped you then, ask them why you fell out later and owe them.
So just like, before we get to that, can I just like ask clarifying question for Icenius? So do I envision you correctly that you are sort of like a Templar Knight, but before the Templar Knights were Templar Knights?
Yeah, effectively. It's I have no idea if there's a historical basis for this, but I'm imagining I'm part of an order dedicated to Saint Michael.
Okay, and you are not from England. Your character came over here.
Yes, I am originally I'm Frankish, and Frankish is basically kind of most of northwestern Europe at this point, so I've kind of left it a bit unspecified, kind of where exactly my order is headquartered.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, and then finally, Russell, are you happy to take? Russell was your childhood friend and helped you then. Ask them why you fell out later.
So I think I helped Hoel kill his first monster when he was young, but later I asked him to help me kill a man, and he turned me down.
Yes.
Does that fly?
Yes, because even though some people can be monsters, there is still, a very good distinction between people and monsters. So I usually kill monsters. So yeah, that was a very good reason for falling out later. But I still owe you for your help of killing my first monster.
Yeah, you wouldn't be the monster killer you are today if it wasn't for Russell.
Yes. I hope that maybe there's still some chance for redemption for him. Who knows?
So just let me explore this. So, have you never killed a mortal who was considered monstrous?
I think I did. Even if only for self-defense, different war bands roaming around, bandits on the roads, but it was more like self-defense. And when you fight with an axe, it's really hard, not to kill when it goes into the lower abdomen. And
I'm going to push you on this.
Sure.
Because those are circumstances, that's just bad luck. You bump into some brigands on the road, you defend yourself.
Yeah.
Have you never hunted a mortal human who was considered monstrous? The active hunting of?
I think I did. I think I did because, as I mentioned, sometimes people can be monsters, and if there is someone who behaves like a monster, meaning kill for joy of killing and or deal harm for the sake of just dealing harm for fun, it's like monster behavior. So this is then more of a monster than a person, but not like, I'm not sure if Russell did it as an assassin, but not like, someone comes to the tavern and pays me 100 gold pieces to off someone just for offing someone.
No, that's very much more Russell's sphere of expertise, I think. Okay, now I remember that last time Cunobacha and I think Icenius wanted to reserve a bond, a debt of honor for Hoel. Is there another one that either, I mean, again, don't feel you have to, we've got some connections going, but is there another one you'd like to have in play? Let me start with Icenius.
Could you actually not start with me, because I need to find my playbook.
Okay, Lowell, then no excuses. I assume you have yours in front of you, of course.
Yes, I do. Of course, it's in this dumb A4 thing, so it's all cut off on the edges of my printer here in the States. But no, I'm actually really happy with the three that we have. I like the connection, the dynamic there.
Okay, so Bodhi, no pressure. But is there one that you've pulled up in front of you that you'd like to have in play?
While Bodhi is searching, let me ask, should I owe something to the gods? Because I haven't found anything on my playbook to say that I owe gods anything.
No, the Monster Hunter starts with a clean bill of health with the gods, as actually does the Outlaw. But last week, Russell kind of put himself in a position where a debt or two was necessary to get out of some tight corners.
Looking at it, I guess there's a fort with me before, but we've already kind of established that. I'm happy with leaving it there.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay. So I'd quite like to hard frame you together, but first of all, I want to deal with where Hoel was last time. There's a tab in the character keeper marked love letter, and it says, "Dear Hoel, last session, the other characters got involved with events at Danum, which seem to have nothing to do with Synhamm, which is your objective, ostensibly, and what you know of it. Indeed, Danum is a week or more travel from Synhamm. You, being a professional, wanted to find out as much as you could about the situation in Synhamm before arriving there. Tell us how you did this, and roll plus the most relevant attribute." So what did you spend time doing?
Before arriving to Synhamm, yes?
Yeah. While they were getting into trouble in Danum, you were doing useful intelligence gathering or something.
I think that I was actually asking people that I met on the road that were traveling the same direction or other direction, because I don't have a reason to sneak through the forest at least now. So I was asking people to tell me what is the situation in Synhamm, how bad it looks, or what are the opportunities.
Okay, well, I think that's probably roll plus sense then. So have the roll for your party is on the Lines and Veils tab, I think, but here it is in the chat, just to make it easily accessible. And then if Hoel wants to roll 2d6 plus 1 for sense, we'll find out what he might have found out.
Green. I'm checking if there is a color for my dice. Gray will be, no, khaki will be like green. Silver. Silver sounds cool. Yeah, it seems like a 7.
Oh, well, it could be worse. So on a 7, it says, on 7 to 9, hold 1 to spend to look about you without a roll later in the session. So at a point where you think something you might have discovered is relevant, and who knows, that means any time, you can ask one question for one. You have 1 hold for look about you.
Awesome.
I will forget about that, so I leave it to you to remind me.
I'm a very bad person to remember, but I will write it down. I actually wanted to maybe spend it already if it's only 1, so that we can all know what we are getting into it even before we do. So can you first tell us what is, in general, what is like, why are we even traveling to Synhamm? What is like common knowledge? And then I will ask some questions.
Fine. The original pitch for this was that the Eorl of Synhamm has received reports of something terrorizing the villages across the river deep in the Great Mire or the Great Fenland. This is a great area of marshland covering a large portion of the east of England. And that's about all you know, really, that something is frightening the locals to the point where they are not supplying him with the tribute that as their lord he expects. So it's as vague as that at this point. So in the look about you move, you can ask me about the location situation, someone or something. Take your pick, really. I should. There are some people who live at Synhamm in the Faces and Places tab. So I'll tell you that now. The Eorl of Synhamm, Earl Widuc of Synhamm, known to be very old and infirm, but he was still able to call his warband to the defense of Synhamm when 2 years ago it was threatened by the local King Beda of Lindsey. The Lady of Synhamm, Kaya Delvia, is his wife, significantly younger than him, widely known as the Lady of Synhamm, a widely respected Christian lady, unusual to find a Christian lady married to a Saxon lord, perhaps. The only word about his son Sabert, his firstborn son, and his only surviving son, is that he is not as well respected as his father has been. And the only other 2 characters I've put on there so far is it is known that Widuc maintains a Saxon priest called Eotenweard, but that his wife maintains a Christian priest called Humlocutus. So that is common knowledge about Synhamm. So with that as context, ask me a question. Or in the words of the move, agree with the GM a detail to add that could enrich the fiction, or ask me to do so.
I was wondering, what do people on the road know or say about the general actions that the Lord Earl Widuc took about this menace that is threatening his lands?
Okay.
Did he do anything except for spreading the word that there's something bad happening?
No, it's a good question. He sent someone, it's unclear who, one of his trusted people, or presumably one of his trusted thanes, across into the Fenland to find out what was going on. And what the word on the North Road is that man did not come back. And that appears to have been the trigger for the Earl announcing that he was willing to pay a decent purse to those that would find out what's going on and solve the problem.
Can I learn the name of this trusted thane?
Yes, I don't see why not. Let's call him Kale. I'll add him to the Places and Faces.
Yes, I just wanted to ask you to do that.
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, that's the question from the love letter. Yes.
Great. So what I'm inclined to do is to hard frame you into a camp where you agreed to meet under a large tree on the there, and there aren't many, because the last stretch of the track that takes you to Synhamm is through a set of marshes. So there's an embankment with a track along it, and there is about a day, half a day away from Synhamm. There is a bit of high ground, and it's known as the resting place because it's the last place before you have to stay on the embankment to stay above the marsh. And so I'm going to hard frame you around a campfire because that is where you agreed to meet prior to reaching Synhamm. What do I see? Cunobacha, what do I see when we open?
I think I'm still kind of looking back and forth at Russel and Icenius, who were the prime movers in what occurred there in that are off the track town, and I'm kind of waiting for them to explain to Hoel what occurred, what the sequence of events was, and why we have whatever is left from this enormous box.
I'll tell you now that I think I described this, I misdescribed it initially as a box, and in fact it was a chest with poles allowing 4 men to carry it. And that is what Icenius dragged away when he swooped in on his warhorse. And I think it's fair to say that inside that was a much smaller box. And I'm going to assume that it is the much smaller box that you now have, unless you really want a big chest to carry about. So it's a much smaller box. It's probably perhaps a handspan wide and maybe a handspan and a half deep. That is the box. So Icenius, what's your response when Cunobacha says, well, are you going to tell him what happened then?
Box. Explain this.
My response is to describe in quite kind of flowery and kind of prophetic language how we were guided by God to this relic or this holy object. And
about halfway through, I will interrupt him, and while he's ranting, say, "There was a monster. You weren't there. That's your job. But don't worry, we killed it." Please continue.
And my question is, we've been on the road for a few days here. What have we looked in this box? Do we know what's in the box? Oh, you're muted, Alan.
That's why I've hard framed you here. I want you to open the box in the presence of Hoel.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is the box sitting beside or casket, I don't know, sitting there beside the fire in the firelight, while Icenius describes how God drew him to this. And as we've heard, a slightly different view. What's Black Russell's view of the box, of the chest, of the casket, of the thing?
I'm slightly deflated that it is a small box that was cunningly hidden in a large box. So my expectations of reward are hugely diminished.
Oh, well, let me reassure you that this is a gorgeously crafted box. It is bound in metal, in silver. It is a very attractive and probably quite valuable box. And just to clarify go on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just to clarify for Hoel, this was a box being carried as a kind of holy relic before a warband that was then expecting a formal battle and ended up being raided by a bunch of brigands, really, one of whom turned out to be a skin changer. And the skin changer.
The most important detail is that this box seemed to be what they were after. They charged for it. They raced for it. All other concerns of battle were secondary to that. And by striking the skin changer, as I struck and sent him reeling back into the darkness, and we stole the box, that seemed to change the tide of things.
Yes, once Icenius rode out the other side of the camp with that casket, then the brigands who were they lost interest, and clearly driving the skin changer off just broke their back in terms of their will. So that is
Russell said something to the leader. I didn't hear what he said, but he said something to the leader that drew the leader's attention, and so he did not follow Icenius.
I did know the leader of the war band, so basically I gave him a hard choice. Either he could chase after me or chase after the box, because I went in the opposite direction to Icenius, so leaving the guy in a bit of a quandary whether to pursue his box or to pursue me.
One subtle just correction on that. The war band was from Danum. Godfrid was along to be impressed by the warband, but it turned out that Godfrid was interested in the box, not the warband. And Godfrid is Russel's nemesis. So quite a lot went on. I have to tell you, last time, a lot went on. And as a pilot episode, it was bound to be funded. And so here we are, round a campfire, with this gorgeously crafted casket. Let's call it a casket.
Could I activate a temptation of greed?
I'm very happy for you to activate a temptation of greed. The way that this works in the rules, folks, is you can always choose to give in to a temptation. If you do so, that exercise of mortal bloody-mindedness erases a debt you owe to your god. So you can always erase one of those debts to your god by giving into a temptation. And the temptation stays in place until the fiction triggers it, or one of the moves that's mentioned in it. Yeah? So you're choosing greed, Russell.
Yeah.
And greed has an effect on your moves, which is what?
+1 to look about you, but -2 to face danger.
Okay. So with we see that in his eyes. His eyes have not left the casket.
I think. Oh, sorry.
I was just wondered, given that Russell is eyeing the casket, whether he's eyeing it with a particular objective in mind.
Quite possibly.
Well, before you
but
do
Icenius
anything...
doesn't need to know that. He's got to sleep at some stage.
Well, Icenius, would this be a good point to roll your start of session move to see what God wants this time?
Yes. Let me find the dice and
at the beginning of each session, roll plus subtle.
Which is interesting for Icenius, not being a particularly subtle man.
He really is at God's mercy.
And so that is a 4.
And we're off to a racing start with Mark XP. On a dear me, on a 6-, you are unworthy of help. You simply owe God a debt because he's bloody minded. How dare you ask me for help, says God. So you get nothing. But on the upside, they don't ask you to do anything terrible either. So So that puts your debt back up to 3. And I will remind you that debts to God above 2, I can spend those to give you disadvantage, make a hard move, just be nasty to you, because in that I then fulfill the role of a fickle and unpleasant god. So
maybe to finally meet my my compatriots, after hearing all of the story, Hoel addresses Russel and he says, "Well, Russel, I haven't seen you for a while. I'm quite happy to hear that you turned from killing to killing monsters, and yes, that's a very worthy cause."
you are muted, Paul.
I think you're narrowing it down too much, Hoel. Let's just stick to killing, shall we? That's a nice broader margin I like to operate in. But yes, we did indeed kill a monster, and yes, that's skinchanger.
That's what it matters. The monster is no longer troubling the common folk. Icenius, your story was beautiful. I'm really sure that the gods have sent you to do the thing, because they like to mess with us. We are just pawns on their chessboard. So,
and gladly so.
What is Cunobacha make of that?
What's in the box?
I think that I've been preventing anyone from opening the box kind of for the past 4 days here.
Serious, just open the box. Just show us what's in the box.
I think my will has finally been worn down, and I reach for the clasp of the box and say, "Well, we need to find out sometime."
After all this anticipation, I'm curious myself.
When you open the casket, you see a cross inside it, but it is a cross. Crosses routinely are wooden. The best crosses are in precious metals. This is an odd cross because the central portion of it, the upright, is of fairly crude iron construction, and it has a number of holes in it. The cross piece is of silver, and the bottom of the iron piece has been sharpened. So it has the appearance of being a dagger, but interestingly, there is a stand in which this sits, almost like a sheath with a base. So you could stand this on an altar, and it would appear to be a fairly crude iron upright with an ornate decorative crosspiece.
I think I'd like to immediately roll Ancient Learning here and see if this triggers any associations.
It would be silly not to. So roll plus sense.
Now, the dice gave me exactly the same as before, so I'm just going to re-roll a couple of times and just make sure that's not... There. That... Are you happy for me to take the new one?
I'll take the last one, the one they settled on. Yeah, not a problem.
Yeah. So that's a 9 from the dice and a 1 from Sensor. That is a 10.
On 10 plus, okay. So on 10 plus, the GM answers your question. And the advantage is that the answer to your question is not go on a quest to find the answer. The answer is that there is a tale of a horseshoe beaten into a cross, and when you look at the metal piece, the holes in it do look as though they're a horseshoe with the holes in it, and that slightly kind of lip on the front of a horseshoe that's been beaten out straight and had this this cross piece added to it. The sharpening seems very unusual. It seems very peculiar to take some artifact and turn it into a weapon. But yeah, the story goes that there was a horseshoe believed to be the horseshoe of St. George. When he slayed a dragon, the horseshoes became icons, and one of those icons made their way to England, and that seems to be what this is. Seem like a fair answer?
I know of beating swords into plowshares, but this seems to be quite the opposite.
Okay.
It seems to me that your god has sent you a weapon to do the god's work.
I would agree.
Does that
You're
kind of-
muted, Paul.
Paul? I was going to ask if Cunobacha's, whether his enormous interest in what's in the box is now satisfied.
Satisfied, I think much as Russell said earlier, deflated is probably the reaction on my part.
I was expecting the 10 Commandments or something.
That's something.
It is valuable.
Yeah.
I don't think it is. That looks pretty worthless. You might as well just throw that away.
Well, and the horse is a striking, important figure in our lives. So to have a horseshoe is good.
Is anyone
not as great
else?
as it could have been.
Now that we've got those clues, is there anyone else who wants to determine if they have heard anything of this? Because look about you would cover this ground more generally.
Well, yeah, I'll give a. Have I heard any sort of local rumours about it moving about the country?
Because the nice thing about greed is it grants you +1 on look about you.
Well, that's what I thought.
So you get extra +1 to look about you, and that triggers the greed, and it's gone. The temptation is met. So roll the dice as normal, but you get an extra +1.
2 5s.
2 5s. So that's 10.
10 plus 1, 11, and what stats is it? Sense, another +1. The big 12.
The big 12. So on a 12, so on a 10 plus, you will hold 2 and ask me. On 12 plus, roll with advantage the next time you act on the answers you received. So again, make a note of that because I won't. So which 2 questions do you want to ask me, Russell?
Why was it being moved?
Okay, what I think I can tell you, it's not a kind of direct answer to that, but what I can tell you is that you heard of this horseshoe turned into a cross as being part of the Abbey of St. Anselm's treasures. And you also know that the prefect of Danum has been raising anyone who will listen, anyone who will come to his flag to oppose King Beder of Lindsey, who is believed to be an all-round bad egg. And in fact, that kind of raid that you saw, that fitted with evidence that Beder of Lindsey has been paying brigands to come to his service. So I can't quite tell you why it was being moved, but it would make sense to suggest that the Abbey of St. Anselm lent it to Danum to support the prefect's cause. Yeah? Do you
maybe the prefect knows about skin crawlers and, asked for the assistance of God, possibly? Who knows?
You still hold 1.
Can I save it?
Not really. You need, I think that if you're going to ask me a question about it and what, I think you need to ask that now.
Well, what's it meant to do?
It is a potent holy relic and summons the power of St. George to those that wield it. And a rumor that you heard was that it was wielded to destroy a demon possessing the prefect.
Ooh. Okay, well, I will relay this and say some of my less salubrious friends on the road have provided some information about this dagger thing.
A hard omen that that God would feel that we have need of such a gift.
The Abbey of St. Anselm?
Anselm, yeah.
Anselm, how is it? Is it on our path, or is it a ways back, or what distance, just generally?
Okay, no, it's back more the way you've come. It's nearer to Danum than it is to Synhamm.
So someone definitely from there handed this off, or it was taken from there. Okay.
That's what Russell has heard, or that's what you've construed from the political situation. You understand it.
And I would also guess that if we were found with this, that by authorities, that might also not be the best thing.
If you recognize it, others might.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the absence of any priest of God would suggest that.
But out of political curiosity, I believe that Eorl of Synhamm is against this person.
I will give you that one, yeah. The Eorl of Synhamm, it pays tribute to King Beda, but a blood feud exists between them.
Well, Icenius, I suggest you keep that under wraps. Probably portable apart from the box, since the box is a little more obvious.
So I think I secrete the box in my saddlebags with a somewhat pointed look at Black Russell here, and say very clearly in front of everyone, this will need to be returned to the Abbey once its purpose is served, and I think the dagger cross disappears into my cloak.
And so, unless anyone else has something to do at the campsite, I'm going to cut to Synhamm. Okay. Synhamm is a coastal settlement. It is protected on all sides, north, east, and west, by marshes. That's the route you've been following to it. There is a broad river beyond it, and beyond that is the Great Fen, the Great Mire. And it is a bustling trading settlement. Perhaps 50 to 100 households. And what is odd about it is that it has a reasonably well kept stone fortification. Most of the Roman fortifications have crumbled in the last 200 years, but this one is in surprisingly good nick. So what do we see as you enter Synhamm, Hoel?
I've heard people talking about some evil or some monsters. What was the area? Is it the monsters that were roaming some area? Where was it?
It's on the other side of the river.
Yeah.
That's where his tribute has not arrived from.
Yes.
Because those people owe him fish.
Yes. I heard there was something bad over there. And I've also heard that the Earl has sent one of his loyal soldiers, Carl, to investigate. So now that we all arrived here, if the three of you want to accompany me, I would probably go and ask Earl to give me this mission, and then if the three of you wants to go, we can go and deal with the situation. And well, who knows what will become of this find that we have.
Cunobacha, does that seem like a sound idea?
We
Does
need
anyone-
to ask the Earl to give us some men, even young men, not even necessarily fighting men, who know the ways there. The fens will be the death of us if we do not have a guide.
Sound thought.
As always, very wise word, Cunobacha.
Your teaching, your mentor, Cunobacha, always told you that Fenland, like the great mountains and the islands of the far north, are places apart, places of mystery and monsters. So if nobody disagrees, I see you making your way through the settlement to this. As you get closer, it's clear that this coastal fort is not in great repair. Most of the upper structure has collapsed. What was probably once a proper Roman wall has long since fallen into the bay, just where the river widens. But the ground level comprises the Earl's Hall. And as is common, you're asked to surrender your weapons on arrival. The laws of hospitality require that of you, and in return, you will be safe when you're receiving hospitality. So inside, it must be said, it's a pretty dank space. The stone vaulting that keeps the ceiling up is crusty with damp. There's a fire pit in the center that is trying to drive some heat into the stone without much success. But Russell, what do you see that tells you that Synhamm is prosperous?
I think as Russell enters, he sees a lot of grazing cattle, sheep coming through the doorway as Russell is going through, and clearly it's a trading, and the recent seasons have been good to Synhamm. There's a lot of grazing stock.
Yeah, fat cows, fat sheep, fat pigs. Cunobacha, there is no sign of pagan Celtic, pagan British worship here. Are you more worried about the fact that there is a Christian priest present or a Saxon shaman?
Icenius will speak to the priest, so it's the shaman that makes me more leery.
He's sitting beside the fire pit, rather hunched over and trying to warm himself, it looks like. Hoel, what suggests to you that the Earl is not necessarily the person you need to convince? What do you see in the hall that suggests that there is a power behind the throne?
I got nothing. Any suggestions?
Any suggestions?
No, I think you see is every time he goes to speak, he always turns his head and his wife leans forward and whispers in his ear, and then he will make his announcement. But he's always very cautious. And
Yeah,
he'll only speak when she says.
Maybe he sat in the great seat of law at the end of the hall, dispensing justice on some, this man stole my sheep. And he listens and then looks to his wife, who sat beside him. And Icenius, you would be surprised, I guess, to find both Saxon and Christian here. What do you say to the Christian priest, who is paying no attention really to the decisions being made at the end of the hall? He's just having a bowl of soup.
I I offer him my greetings, and I think I ask if he would take confession for me.
And I think that he would be more than happy to. He sees that you are obviously a Christian lord of some description, and therefore will happily undertake confession at the church, because there is a wooden church in the settlement. Now, or do you have other business?
There is no business that comes before the lords.
Then come with me, brother, and I will hear confession. And he leads you out of the hall to the church. Hoel, this is your, this is your expertise, dealing with people about monsters, because you have a move called the powers that be. Mm-hmm. So I think this might be the obvious place for you to set off, unless you want to avoid talking to the Lord and his lady.
Even though I clearly see that he's probably not, he needs support. He's still the Earl, and our respect must be paid, even if someone else will be making decisions. So I suppose I wait my moment for me to approach and address the Earl, and I go and take this moment.
Fine. What does that look like? What do we hear you saying?
So after I get in front of him, he's sitting on his chair with his wife on his side. I kneel on one knee, and I say, Earl of Widuc, I am Hoel from Stroden, and I see that Balder has kept you well, and Woden have blessed this your settlement with many. I'm looking for the word blessings. The cows are well fed and everything seems to be in order. However, I've also heard that Wade has taken, and Wade is god of sea, according to my cheat sheet. The Wade has taken the tribute you should receive from the great Mire. The words I've heard people speak is that Carol has not returned from the great Mire.
And clearly, from a point of being very bored listening to farmers arguing over livestock, he kind of pulls himself upright as much as he can and looks at you through rheumy eyes and says, you are well informed, Hoel from Stroden. What can you do about this?
My profession is killing monsters, and if the words spoken by the people are to be believed, there is a great monster making troubles on the great Mire. Therefore, I have come here to undertake the mission. You are seeking someone brave to undertake and go and see and deal with the matters that are happening over there.
And he bangs a stick on the floor and says, "Yes, my tribute is due, and I will not give that beast Beda any more of the good sheep and pigs. He will have fish. He will have dried fish from me." Let's see what impression you make then with the powers that be.
Powers that be. Roll plus sense. Oh wow, it's a 12.
Oh, isn't this going terribly well? So on 7+, the GM will tell you, sorry, that's the wrong one, beg your pardon. On 10+, they agree, help, or accept the excuse. There is no particular 12+ on this one, sadly. Mm-hmm. But, he's very impressed. In fact, I think I have heard of you, the monster killer from Stroden. And these, and he gestures to Cunobacha and Russel, and you speak for these two?
I look around, not seeing the third one probably.
Well, because Cunobacha does when the Earl gestures, are you keeping your head down, or is he seeing?
I will say, I am his assistant associate in these matters.
Russell, do you take the point of introduction, or do you just kind of look sinister?
I will follow up with Cunobacha's thing and say, I am the assistant of the assistant monster hunter.
And there's no sign of Icenius, and I doubt that your Widuc has noticed him slipping out the back of the hall for confession. And then Kaya Delvia, the Lady of Synhamm, leans forward and says, so what do you propose, Hoel of Stroden?
There's actually one more of my compatriots that I travel with, a man of God. He must have went to the church. I would assume. I propose that the bounty should be equal to the number of us that will embark on this mission, and I would politely ask for a guide and maybe a boat across the river so that we can get there quickly.
I think my husband can provide that. And let us be, I'm keeping an eye on the clock. I want to take a break in a moment, but I want to cut to the church before we get too far on. And we see Icenius kneeling beside the altar while brother the priest takes confession. Do you confess that you've stolen the cross of St. Anselm's Abbey? I'm just curious, obviously.
I confess that I don't think I name the article that I have stolen. I think I confess that I am in turmoil because I have stolen, but I have stolen based on what I believe to be a vision from God, and so I'm.
And Humlocutus kind of, my son, this is my brother. This is a heavy burden you carry. You must do penance, surely. And even the temptation of theft is a sin. If you have been tempted and in somehow put away temptation, that is to your credit. But even the temptation must be paid for, my boy, my brother. And I think mechanically that turns into, oh, you're God a debt.
Mm.
You just got screwed by God for doing what he told you and then paying for it twice. This would seem a good point to take a break. Shall we say back in our seats at 1:15? That's long enough for me to make a cup of tea.
Sure.
Fine, 1:15. I'll pause the recording. Okay, we're back after our break. Does anyone want to do anything else through the rest of that day? Or I'd be quite happy to cut to the following morning and, yes, XP on a miss, yeah. Whether there's anything you want to do, or do I cut the following morning and the arrangements around a guide and a boat?
I would like to.
Oh, everybody wants to do something. Okay, let's start with.
I want to suggest. I'll lean to Russell, and I say I expect you're going to do this, but if you'll talk to the locals and see what the chatter on the ground is.
Will, of course, cousin. I will, of course. I have some errands to do in the settlement anyway, so excellent. I will make that happen. Bodhi, you go ahead, my friend.
I think I want to talk with the priest when we're walking back from the church after confession, and I think I kind of work it into the conversation what my business is in Synhamm, and I kind of say that it concerns me that the Earl seems more concerned about his tribute than the people of the Fen.
Or don't, I mean, he is not a bad man. Few lords would allow the building of a church, albeit his father burned down the original one. The lady is a good influence on him, and you mustn't forget that the king will make will cut no slack, will make no exceptions in terms of the tribute that the Earl must pay. If anything, he is more aggressive in pursuing those demands for tribute. So yes, I can see that it might seem harsh of him, but he's not a bad man for a Saxon.
Thank you for your wisdom.
Hoel, do you have any plans, or are you content to wait until a boat and a guide arrives?
I was actually thinking about using my instincts, because maybe there is something while we are still in Synhamm that can somehow tell us more about the situation at hand. So
I get that. Okay. So trust your insight. This is a soul move. So when you invoke it, roll plus soul minus the debt you currently owe to your gods, which in your case is 0. So roll plus soul, and then I will tell you some stuff.
Awesome. So I envision that probably it will be at least the next day we will depart. So
yeah,
get some room at I don't know how do people spend time?
Oh no, you were on the Lord's business. You will have pallets in the Lord's hall.
Oh, awesome. So
his hospitality is bountiful.
So so probably this is like for now it might be framed differently later. Probably we see Hoel by the I imagine by the lunch, just eating a fat chicken and drinking a mug of beer, and then it just like comes to him. It just like, oh, I should go there and maybe I will find something. So it isn't like really like he's in there praying. He just, yeah, that could be a good idea. Just as he's eating, maybe next time it will be different. Who knows?
Fine. So 2D plus soul.
Yes, let's roll. My soul is very poor, but it will be very interesting even on the miss. As I said, so even on a miss, it will be interesting.
Mark experience.
First experience.
So on 6-, you get no help, but they hold you personally. Oh, sorry, no, I keep reading the wrong one. 6-, the gods have a different plan for you, and you are led into danger.
Just to finish up the soul move, do I have to mark wounded or own one dead?
The choice is yours. You can either make a sacrifice of blood for that really helpful 6-, or you can owe your gods a debt.
I'll owe them. Okay,
fine. And what they think you should do is go tonight. What your instincts tell you is that you noticed them on the way in, actually. There's a cluster of huts outside the settlement stockade. Huts on stilts out in the river. And the obvious thing for you to do is clearly these are people who live much closer to the river, much closer to the fenland than the people inside the stockade. So the logical thing is for you to go and talk to them. So my assumption is that you're going to go and talk to them.
Of course.
And while you're doing that this evening, Cunobacha had a suggestion for Russel. Russel, how do you put that suggestion into action?
Well, I wanted to accomplish 2 things. One was to find the local carpenter and get a chunk of wood that looks exactly similar in size and dimension to the one in the saddlebag. It doesn't need to look like a box, just a chunk of wood would do.
Okay. Okay.
So I think that should be, I'm not asking for craft here, literally saw it.
Yeah, I think he'll do that. And all he requires is for you to bring him some food from the Lord's table.
Yes, I think I can easily
Yeah.
easily accompany that.
Now, there is no tracking of resource here at all. But if you just make a note that you owe the carpenter a debt, and he is immediately calling that debt in for you to sneak some food out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
and when
quite
you,
plentiful, the
oh yeah,
bounty.
yeah. And so when you take the food back to him late tonight, lo and behold, you will have your carefully shaped bit of wood.
Excellent.
Yeah. So that was one thing you wanted to do.
Yeah, but I think the main thing is really go into the tavern or wherever anybody sort of drinks, if there's no building clearly out on the street or something, and basically work the crowd, using my reputation, not the move used reputation, but, you may have heard of me. I'm Black Russell. What do you sort of know about this creature out in the mire? What rumours have come back?
Okay, so there is an alewife, as there always is in these settlements, these villages.
She's quite comely, I believe, actually.
Minada is quite a good looker, if you check out Faces and Places. An attractive woman in her probably early middle age, late youth, somewhere in that gap, difficult to tell. And she's a very friendly woman, and happily talk to you about anything.
Well, I think she's the lady then.
This sounds like Look About You.
It does.
Yeah. I've got rid of your greedy because your greed.
Yeah, I'm thinking, is this a good one for lust? But no, we'll save that for a different character. I will ask her if is she single.
Well, I have friends, and some of them have asked for my hand, but I am an independent woman.
A wise move. A wise move.
I make a good living here all on my own.
Because you never know what better man could come round the corner. So don't tie yourself to any man.
And she
looks
looks you.
A free agent.
She looks you up and down, as if to say,
See this
maybe.
scar? I got that from fighting a monster.
I mean,
I got that scar there from fighting a man. And I won both of those. But anyway, tell us.
Are you trying to win her over with a convince, or are you trying to find stuff out?
There's the quandary, because one could easily lead into the other, or it could totally stonewall it.
It could.
The situation. Yeah. I think I'm going to lay it on quite thick with her. The gathering details can hopefully come later.
So you want to convince her to be well disposed to you, yeah?
Yes, I think
so. When you give a mortal NPC a reason to do as you ask, so what is the reason? Is it, look at my scars? Hey.
Yeah, because, I've told her that, she was wise waiting, and, clearly I'm a good catch. I'm somebody.
Okay, so you are offering her some permanent kind of benefit. Okay, roll plus subtle.
Oh, now this could be the problem. It's only -1. What could go wrong? I rolled 7, which goes down to a 6.
And after she spilt the ale on you, the locals don't pay particular attention to you.
I think that's fair. I shall return to Cunobacha and say, you know what, Cunobacha? They don't actually seem to know anything about what's out in the mire. It's a terrible thing. Whatever is out there has really spooked these guys, and no information's got back.
You're damp.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't smell too well either. Yeah, well, you know what happened last time I drunk, so I thought I'd give it up this time and just spilt it down myself instead. It came to me, clearly a prophecy from God, that ale was not doing it for me, so I just got rid of it there and then after I'd got the jar of ale.
Cunobacha, how angry are you by these continuous escapades that Russell gets?
I'm a little angry at this point, because this should have been a very simple thing to do, to go and talk to these people. I've been sitting here on a stool outside the chief's house, petting the village dogs and waiting. And I'll say, let us hope that Hoel has better luck than you do.
So in my
it
mind,
is his area of expertise. So I will agree with you, Cunobacha. Let's hope he has better luck. Anyway, I need to go off to the Lord's Hall for some food. I feel quite peckish.
Maybe wipe yourself a little before you go in.
Oh yes, good point. I'll just put something round it. Oh, and then I'll put the leave the horse to me. I'll make sure that's stabled. Don't worry about that, Cunobacha. Leave that to me.
now, Cunobacha, in my mind's eye, I'm seeing the fuse on your wrath just fizzing. And it could only take one more thing to push it over the edge.
Oh yeah, my clock is at 5 sections out of 6.
Okay. Icenius, anything else we want to see you doing before Boats and a Guide, if that's where we end up?
Not so much see me doing, but a more mechanical point. I think I'm marking pride here because although I've been told in no uncertain terms that the temptation to theft is a sin, I'm like, well, I'm being guided by God here. This is clearly a higher calling, and so I think I'm falling to pride here.
Okay, well that takes away that debt that I was about to kind of hit you with. So yeah, you are prideful, preoccupied by your own superiority.
It only takes it down to -3, so you can
Oh,
still
really?
hit me.
Oh, I've still got one left. Oh, jolly good show. How great. Okay. Oh, I must think about that. Okay, so Cunobacha, the fuse is going. Are you inclined to go about the village and find some stuff out for yourself, given this failure of your cousin?
No, Hoel has clearly set his mind, so I'm waiting to clean up after his potential mess.
Okay, so let me cut to Hoel then. It is now past dusk. You are.
Can we just establish that I probably told someone that I have an idea to go to talk to those guys, so I'll be back later, so that at least if they want to join me, they know where I am.
Well, I deliberately don't want to have them join.
Okay, no problem.
Because on a 6-, I think you do the instinctive thing, which is just go.
No problem, sure.
So they know that you've gone out of the settlement. They may not be entirely certain where you end up.
Sure.
But it's you've eaten your fill in the Lord's Hall, and you set off through the gate. The watchman on the gate see you coming from the hall, so you're clearly respectable. They let you out, and you make your way to this kind of separate little village, cluster of huts out on the river. And somebody is playing a kind of low kind of drum. Dum-ba-dum, dum-dum, dum-dum, dum-dum. Dum-ba-dum, dum-dum, dum-dum, dum-dum.
Does it sound like a battle drum, like a warband uses when they are like charging, or?
No, it doesn't sound that aggressive. It just sounds like someone is occupying themselves. And there's a kind of walkway out to the first of these huts, and then the other huts are connected by other kind of bits of wood.
Well,
so what do you see you doing?
Clearly, my instinct was to come here and talk to probably the person who plays on the drums, because that's what my good instinct told me.
He's sitting on a kind of little kind of veranda stoop beside the hut that is furthest out in the river.
Yeah, I go for an entire village to this person playing on the drums.
And you're conscious, I think, as you make your way past one hut, across the planks to the next hut, and so on, heading further out into the river, that each time you pass a hut, someone comes to the door and watches you going further out. And finally, you arrive at the hut at the end, and there's a pause, and in a very thick accent that is neither Saxon nor the kind of typical Celtic British accent that you've come across, This man says, "What do you want, stranger?"
I'm Hoel. I
don't
help
care
people with
who
their
you
problems.
are. I don't care who you are. What do you want? And that is probably the point when you realize that those people who came out through the door
Mhm.
have carefully followed you out to this hut, sitting alone out on the river.
Yeah. I say, I came here because I trust that you know more about what's happening in the Great Mire than the people in the Synhamm might know. So it would be wise for you to share this knowledge with me.
Why should I tell you people anything?
And why shouldn't you? I will go there to solve this problem.
And he kind of looks at you, spits in the river, and says, "This is not a problem for the likes of you to solve. The Mire is moving. It will simply swallow you, as it has swallowed all that have come before."
You seem to know something, so is there what is going on there?
Why don't you go and find out? It's almost like he's inciting you to go out there. Almost like it would be the best thing in the world for you to go out there and never come back, because it will swallow you whole. How are you feeling at this point, Hoel? Because he's clearly not being friendly, and there are half a dozen or so other villagers just 10 feet across that plank from you. And it suddenly dawns on you that you're quite a long way out in the river.
Well,
If you're not feeling in danger, you should be.
yes. I think maybe now Hall realizes that his instincts are, as always, gods are mocking him. Yeah, he will probably like look behind him on those men. Are they like openly with, I don't know, fishing pole, like hooks or other and tools of murder out there, or like, and also like look at this guy, like, yeah. So I'm just like I'm just looking to look about me about the situation.
Okay. Then that's roll plus sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm racing you guys with the experience. It's a 4. So just so you know, I'm racing you guys.
Okay, so that's when they rush you. And the last thing you see before these guys race across the plank at you is one of Woden's ravens sat on the edge of one of these huts, looking at you, and it goes. And they rush you. What do you do, Hoel?
Yeah, there's like
You're a big
10,
bloke.
yeah, there's like 10 of them and one of me. As they rush me, I rush forward. I grab the guy that I was talking to, and I grab him, bite his clothes. I'm a big muscly guy. I pull him up, and I ready my axe, and I say, "Stop!" Or
Okay.
he's losing his head.
Okay. I think that probably sounds like. Do you want to play this as face danger to get a hostage, or do you want to play this as I've already got him, back off? Because that could be face danger with steel or savage, or it could be convince with subtle. It seems to be.
Well, I think that if we do the first thing, then we still need to go to convince them. It just, do you want to make me go through the hassle of grabbing the guy?
I think let's go straight to convince then. Yeah.
Oh yeah, my best approach. Yes.
Oh.
My best approach. Yeah.
Well, look, just to be clear, I think that if you can grab him, that might be all you need. Yeah, that's why I was offering face danger to grab him. Because clearly he's valuable, or they wouldn't have followed you out here.
I think I'm not following your line of thinking.
Okay.
So
You can
either
try.
way, it will come to me threatening the crowd with the guy. So just the thing whether you want me to roll the move to grab him. Is he defending? Is he also skilled warrior?
What I'm thinking is if you get him, you will have all the leverage in the world you need. You won't need convince. You can either grab him or you can try to convince them. Grabbing him will be enough.
Okay, well that's what I describe myself doing. I'm going to grab him and then threaten to whack him with the axe. So
okay, that sounds like savage then.
Yeah.
Okay, roll plus savage.
8, 9.
9. Okay, you can get him and they will let you go. But what do you leave behind in this little fracas? Which valuable bit of equipment drops in the water?
Well, the problem is that I don't have. Well, I have 3 items. I have the axe, armor, and the fire pots.
I think the fire pots, if you want to get him, you're going to lose those fire pots.
How hard is it to get equipment in this world?
Quite difficult. That's the hard choice. Drop the pots and escape, or this gets more serious.
I'm not gonna lose my pots. Those are the most awesome item I have on myself. So no, I don't want to.
Well, drop the axe.
And what would I use to kill the monsters? Unfortunately, there is not much option over here.
That is why it's called a hard choice.
Yes, I don't have little stuff to lose, so I cannot lose my stuff.
No, because little stuff wouldn't be hard.
Yeah, but other stuff can be bought, and then this can. So I don't want to lose my stuff. So
you get right. So you try to get him, you fail, and then they attack you.
Yeah.
Okay. So this devolves into fight then. So fight is with savage. They come at you. Only 2 or 3 of them can get to you at once because it's quite a narrow space. So go ahead. Roll to fight. So that's roll plus savage. Let's hope those fire pots were worth it.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, you've been rolling really well, so if this can't go wrong.
Yeah, I think I'm fighting them. I think I'm fighting them with the axe. I'm not fighting them with the fire pots.
The irony of now throwing the fire pots at them would be tremendous.
Yeah. It's 7, 8.
Okay, so on 7 to 9, on 7+, you can exchange harm which in this case will be about 3 incoming versus your 2 with the axe, I think. Or you can choose one of that first set of bullet points. Force your foe to where you want them, draw all danger to you, blah, blah, blah.
Well, I think we are playing Cold and Brutal Words, so I suppose those options really would really help me in the situation.
Force your foe to where you want them, i.e. put them further away from the plank than you are, for instance?
Yeah, let's go with the exchange. I
Okay.
just like, they want to fight, they have a fight, yeah, why not?
Okay, so you put 2 of them out of the fight, but you will take 3 points of harm. So 3 boxes of condition, and your leather will take some, I think. I can't quite remember how much. 1, perhaps? 1 armor. So, and you've got duck and dive, haven't you, as a move?
I do.
Which adds another armor. So you just take 1 point of condition. So you start top left with wearied and then work your way down and across, okay? So you are currently wearied, and 2 of the 5
Did the duck and dive description change? Because there was something about owing the gods.
Oh, if you were to invoke your reputation, you could improve the outcome.
No, I was wondering that duck and dive changed because it was something about owing gods a favor. Have you been updating them recently?
So I'm not. When you fight, you have a good eye for what's going on around you. Add 1.
Yeah, I think Powell's saying that basically the rules have changed since last time he played.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah.
Because
they're never the same, our kids. Sorry.
Because on the playbook, it's like all your gods are dead and then get +1 armor.
Then that is indeed the case. Sorry, clearly the keeper hasn't caught up. So yeah, owe your god a debt. I'll correct that for next time.
Do I want to owe them a debt? Sure, why not? I don't want to die over here.
So that, as I say, that absorbs 1 of the harm, and that leaves 2 coming through weary. So that's wearied. Leather plus duck and dive, yet wearied comes through. Okay, and there are still 3 of them in the fight, so to speak. So they're going to come at you again. Yeah, so roll plus savage to fight.
Yes. I don't know. Can I say that I'm like full of wrath on the gods to put me in this situation?
You can always opt
But that's like
for
kind
wrath.
of like a power gaming because I'll be rolling fight right now.
You can always piss the gods off by giving into a temptation. That's not a problem.
Just asking because I know I'll be rolling fight. So I lower the debt to the gods. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think in this like brief moment of exchange, the first exchange, I probably thrown 1 guy over my shoulder. He lands in the water. I probably like might have smashed him with the axe as he was going behind me. And then the second one probably like got like an axe like somewhere over here. And then there's like a brief moment. The other 3 are just like thinking what to do. And then just look at this crow of Voden sitting over there. And I'm just like shouting at because you said that there's like a crow of Voden sitting somewhere.
Yeah, there's a raven sitting watching this, really enjoying it.
Yeah, and I'm just like pointing at the bird and just like shouting, "You put me in this situation again! I lose my faith in you!" And then I just like unleash on those guys. It's like, "You want it? Here it comes!"
Okay, so you mark wrath. That gives you +1 on fight, and roll the dice.
That is crazy. Yeah, let's test it. Oh my! 11 plus 2, 13.
Oh well. So so you get all of that what you got before, plus on the 12 plus you get another 3 bullet points. One of which is your fury drives your foe from the scene, so you could scatter them.
Yeah, that's probably what might happen. Yeah, I'll pick this option. They, They were probably hoping for some easy prey. That the guy with the axe who shouts at the bird about something of the gods. Well,
Okay. And let's cut back to Russell smuggling food out of the Lord's Hall.
Yes.
I think this, unless you've got a move that makes more sense, I think this is face danger with steel.
Yeah, sounds
Sense.
Yeah, you could
How
say
do we
sense.
see it?
Well, yeah, I think sense. So I'm just going to look until the path is clear, and then take some. I think fruit. The fens are not a particularly fruit-growing area, so yes, I will leave with some. Just make sure there's a spare minute where nobody's watching.
Let's see. Well, let's see how good you are at spotting that spare minute when nobody's watching.
Seven, which goes to 8.
Okay, so on an 8, there is a cost, and that is that the Lady of Synhamm watches your every move and knows that you've stolen food from the Lord's table.
Just hungry. That's fine.
Okay, and you disappear out of the hall with it. She knows that you have taken food from the Lord's table. Yeah?
Yep.
But you get your box, and no one's any the wiser. Cunobacha.
Yes.
I think that you might see Hoel coming back into the hall. And Hoel is looking kind of, well, you tell me, what does Hoel look like after this? Is he still pissed off with the gods?
I think I think it just like vanished the moment because I rolled the fight, so I like unchecked the wrath. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's much more calm now, but we see he's like splattered with the blood of those 2 or 3 guys he killed. Not like full of gore, just like splattered with the blood after the fight.
A spray of blood up one side of his face, perhaps, that Cunobacha notices.
Yeah, and he's like shaping the axe as he's coming.
Then I stand and I say very loudly, "What is this? Were you set upon?
The gods.
Where are they?
They are no longer Cunobacha. The gods have led me astray again to those village outside. I was hoping to find some information. I found another band of brigands.
Brigands outside the town?
However you want to call people who just go out and attack me, who came to the village seeking knowledge, offering help to take care of the problems in the Great Mire. They just attack me. They spoken some weird stuff about the Great Mire swallowing us with our problems. This was weird.
I'll turn to the hall and I say, "Who are those who live on the river out there? What is their toil? What is their problem?"
So the hall, and I think just for dramatic effect, we'll see Russell come back into the back of the hall just as it goes absolutely silent. If there was a piano player, he would stop, and there's kind of everyone's attention now is on Hoel and Cunobacha, and this question of who these people are, and everybody looks to the Lord. The Lord looks around, looks to his wife looks at the priest, and then the Saxon shaman Eorl stands and says, "They are the marshmen. We have little to do with them. They pay their tribute and we leave them alone."
By the sounds of it, they are at root in this? Is that what you think?
They are harmless enough, says Eorl. "Lord, are they not harmless? They pay you their tribute. Agreed, their brothers on the far side of the river have not, but that is what these people have come to solve for us. Hoel, what do you say, if anything, at this point?
What would Hoel say? I think Hoel would say, well, they've. I assume they will keep not giving you problem after I have spoken with them. However, they seem to know more than they are willing to share, and they they were not willing to share their wisdom about the problem at hand with me.
Icenius, are you doing anything when these events are unfolding?
I'm going to say that I'm going to try and have struck up a conversation with the Lord's wife.
Okay, unpack that for me. What is this?
So I think that I'm surprised and gratified to see a Christian presence here. I don't think there's anything kind of more. I don't see anything more beyond it than that. I'm kind of inquiring as to how a Christian woman came to be the wife of a Saxon earl.
I'll give you some of that later, but I think in terms of the current state of play, what I think the Earl says, he looks to his wife and says to his men, "Bring the headman here to me. If they are at the root of this, we will discover it." And that would seem to me to be a good point to take our second break. Shall we be back? Is back on the hour long enough? Fine, I'll see you on the hour. Okay, we're back after our final break. So we then cut to a little time having passed, and we see the man, the drummer from the river huts, dragged into the hall and thrown to the ground before the Lord. Cunobacha, you are still running hot, I would suggest, so I'm going to come to you first. What do we see that demonstrates the wrath that you are feeling?
I think it's that I have my staff in my hand and I strike it and grind it into the floor with the butt of it, and I'm waiting and I'm just fuming. And there's that the people who are looking very closely can probably see like the little wisps of maybe, was there a dog near him for a second, a shadow, and
Very
I'm
happy to have the shadow dog.
Yeah, I'm waiting and I'm muttering to Nodens, and waiting to see what comes of this. I don't want to step on the Lord's toes, but if he does not give us satisfaction in this, then I will speak my piece.
And I think that what the Lord will, I think the Lord will defer to Eotenweard, the shaman here, I think. And Eotenweard will go up to the man and he's on his knees, head down, shoulders slumped. And Eotenweard says, "This man," pointing towards Hoel and Cunobacha, "say that you work against the Lord's interests. What do you have to say for yourself?" The man says nothing. And Eotenweard looks around. He looks at you, Hoel. He looks at you, Cunobacha. You're the center of this. You triggered this.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like he's expecting you to accuse this man of something.
Yeah. Hoel would come closer and say, "Speak up about the things that you said are happening on the Great Mire, about swallowing all the things."
And he looks up at the Lord And there is a smell in the hall, a smell of rot and mud and rotting vegetation suddenly. And he throws his hands towards the Lord. Let's see. Icenius, you told me that you've been talking to Kaya Delvia, sitting beside the Lord. So I think you're well placed to act if you want to do something.
I think that that in this matter, I would say that the Lord isn't innocent, and therefore I kind of feel compelled to, at least in as far as I know, I feel compelled to protect him, and I once again, becoming my trademark move, I step between the attacker and the attacked.
Hoel, you are the next nearest to this man. What do you do? No, I'm going to ask Cunobacha first, because Cunobacha is already ticking.
Boom, curse. Staff comes down. Dogs in the air. I whisper loudly Nodens' name, and I call that upon him. I've been waiting for the opportunity.
So use power using your curse, some of your curse effects.
Yes.
So go ahead, roll plus, pay God a debt in a bit. But first of all, what's your current debt? 2.
So, no, I went 1. I just moved it to 2.
Fine. Okay. So -1 plus soul. So it's still +1.
Okay. So let me get my couple of pip dice here. Yellow. And submit. Ooh, so a 9. Oh, no, +1 is an 11.
I was going to say that's an 11. Do you want to push it to 12? Because you could invoke your reputation as a pagan mystic, pay your gods another debt, and edge it to 12. I'm just,
Yes.
So add another debt on 12. Agree with the GM the form of your advantage. But let's deal with the curse first. So what do you hit him with?
Basically, let me look at my curse notes here. I think that he's obviously calling up something, but then I think he is going to be terrified. Invisibly shaken as these things, grapple him and like bring him like a stag to the ground.
My notes somewhere say that Kaya Delvia has an old wolfhound. And I think the shadow of the wolfhound takes on a life all its own and distracts him. So whatever he was calling, that gives you, Icenius, advantage, I think, in whatever you want to do. So what do you want to do? You've put yourself between him and the Lord.
So I think I am more or less instinctively as a symbol of faith. Normally I would kind of reach for my shield with the design of Saint Michael on it, but that's not available. I'm in the Lord's Hall, so I think I'm reaching for the cross from the Abbey, and I think I am beseeching God for aid in my blessed by God move.
And when you ask your gods to demonstrate their power by acting in the mundane world, roll plus soul. But of course, it's roll plus soul minus the debt you currently owe.
And so that is...
I think that's -3.
Yes, that is -3, but with advantage.
Oh, indeed. So you're rolling, re-roll the lowest one or whatever you want to do. But yeah.
So I'll roll 3 and discard the lowest. So that is a 7 -3. So that is a 4.
Okay. On 6- they judge you, obviously mark XP for the failure. On 6- they judge you unworthy. Something goes wrong and or draws immediate unwelcome attention. Whatever he was summoning launches at you. So that the advantage that the shadow dog gave wasn't quite enough. Hoel, you are next up, I think. This is going off all around you. What do you do?
Well, all of my weapons are somewhere shifted because you don't bring weapons to the Lord's Hall. So I suppose.
You have your knife.
Yeah, I have big muscly hands. So this goes like a kick straight to the chest or the face because he was kneeling. This is just like a kick to just throw him off whatever he was doing.
Is your intention to harm him or subdue him?
To subdue him.
Fine. Well, then I would suggest that is face danger with savage. Go for it.
Here's the dice roller. 6 + 1 is a 7, yes.
So yeah, and I'm not going to make the fire pots explode as a cost. I think you've got him, but you've only got him for this one action. Yeah, so you've subdued him now, but he's going to get free in a moment. Russell, you're at the back of the room. This is all going on. What, if anything, do you do?
Yes, I think this would be a fine time to address the challenge of stealing the box and replacing it with my placebo using guile. So I will disappear from the scene.
Well, I think that's a straightforward face danger. And a failure, I think it's probably steal. Roll with steal. That's coolness under fire. And I think failure means that Icenius will know what's gone on. Your subterfuge won't work. Yeah? But go for it.
I can always pull in my reputation. You do that after the roll, don't you?
You can.
7, which becomes, what was it, steal?
Yeah.
So 7 it is. So yeah, I think I will invoke my reputation as an outlaw. Clearly I am a sneaky son of a gun. And
I absolutely agree. Owe your god a debt and increase the level of success
to 10+, so I don't think he'll see me at all.
Seamless. He will never know until it is too late to do anything about it. Make a note of that on your sheet so we don't all forget it. Russell is gone and back before anybody knew that he was thinking about it. Cunobacha, you can see that this man is struggling free, but that Bodhi, there is this kind of wall of fetid marsh, weed, and mud throwing itself at Icenius. You are muted. You are muted, Lo.
So my gesture is whatever, because I am stepping, raising the stick. Hoel hasn't done what needed to be done, and I am going to bring that staff down on the crown of this man's head.
Wrath gives you +1 to fight, so this is about braining him. He's a harmless. He's not going to be able to strike back at you. So whatever you do, you do.
Okay.
Plus savage. Yeah, roll plus savage.
So let me. And I always do new dice, so I don't have the issue. And we're gonna submit. So that's a 5 + 3 is an 8.
Well, that's not bad, is it? So you would normally exchange harm, but I think I will have you knock him unconscious. I don't. This is, he's more or less helpless, and you just knock him unconscious. So, and this mass of mud and weed and stinking marsh gas just falls into a great smelly puddle in front of you, Icenius. You are barely splashed by it.
And I say, because my pride is up too, I put the temptation on. I'm like, see? Very loudly.
How delightful. That pride will stay there till you help or face danger. And the hall is just kind of.
I have a mechanical question. I'm sorry.
Oh, go on.
I'm going to interrupt you before you go to that. Now, when I like engage my burden, does that lower the debt, or is that
No,
just
sadly not. That's always ticking away there. In fact, you have
So
to
sad.
pay your god a debt not to fall to the temptation when I
Okay.
put it before you. There's just kind of stunned silence, and then chaos. People are binding the headman of the Marshmen village. Kaya Delvier is being hustled away into safety, as is the Earl. And of course, nobody notices Russell at the back of the hall, just, kind of watching the world go by.
call your swordman. Call those who serve you at arms.
His son Sabert is raising people. Arm yourselves. We must destroy their village.
Yep.
And so I think we probably will see very shortly fire beginning to take in that little cluster of huts out in the river, observing it from the settlement proper. But we will also probably see a couple of flat-bottom boats drifting off across the river as these people are driven from their homes and their homes burned to cinders. Does anybody want to do anything specific, or do I cut to the morning after the night before?
I think that the Saxon priest, the shaman, rather, the Saxon shaman, feels the weight of my eyes on him the whole time this is going on.
It's really strange, because he did not behave as you expected him to. You would have expected, if this had been a lord of yours, you would have leapt to his protection just as you just did. And yet Aelnoth just did nothing. Nor, it must be said, did the priest of God. But there we are. Go on.
I just wanted to say that the only thing Hoel would like to do is to have some short exchange with Cunobacha.
Oh, fine. Go ahead. Yeah.
As we see the huts burning in the distance, I'm not sure if we took part or not. I assume we did, because why not? Yes, Hoel says, I missed you, Cunobacha. I really miss you. I could have used help last time I was fighting an owlbear, but it's good that you were there.
Good. You are the strongest of us, but when you stand alone, that weakens you. Next time, call for us and we will be with you.
It seems to me that you are right. Gods are not always mocking us, because though they mocked me with going to this village alone, they did give us a valuable information in that there were traitors in this village to this land. So they are cunning bastards, I would say, the gods.
Russell, what do you make of all of this at this point? Do we see you talking to someone? What does the audience think from the way your demeanor?
I just don't. There's nothing in this for me. Set fire to some crappy marshmen huts. That's not really going to. Yeah, it's just not motivating me. So I am just skulking around at the back, just sort of. Yeah, this is all pretty blasé to me. I'm not. Yeah, really. There's no profit in it.
I'm quite pleased that you're skulking around at the back, because I've been trying to get you on your own for some time. A hooded figure emerges from the crowd watching this. And he just appears on your shoulder and says, You owe my lord a debt.
Depends what lord that is.
I serve Godfred of Len.
Do you? Well, I owe Godfred of Len a debt.
And
But I don't know you. Go ahead, tell me what
well,
the debt is.
as you turn towards him, and in the flickering light from across the water, you will recognize one of the men that you saw with him outside the barn at Danum about a week ago. And he says, my lord will let you live another year if you are prepared to do what I ask.
I'll scoff at that and say, debt or no debt, you are no god, your lord, and he is not my master. So
that we are engaging here with a debt mechanic that says you could erase the debt if you do what he asks,
yep.
Or if you refuse a debt of honor held by a character group or faction, roll plus subtle minus the debt owed. So do you just want to turn him down?
Yeah, I will scoff at that.
Fine. So roll plus subtle minus the current debt, which is 1.
I have -1 on subtle, so it will be at -2.
Such a cogent argument you put.
Of course. And I rolled 4, so that becomes 2.
Mark XP. So what it says is, on a 6-, you choose either to honor the debt, i.e. do what he asks, or increase the debt by 1, or accept that you are unworthy of trust and erase all the debts you currently hold on anyone or anything. Talk about hard moves coming out of the woodwork.
That's perfectly fine. I will erase all debts. I don't think I'm really worthy.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you erase all the debts, including the one that you owe him.
Indeed. But I know Cunobacha no longer owes me a debt.
That's right.
And neither does Hoel of Synhamm. So
Indeed
they can
not.
get rid of them as well.
So they now have you would have to do something nice for them to owe you a debt. Okay.
Yes.
Out of curiosity, the wording is that all debt you currently hold on anyone. So it doesn't erase, according to my reading, others don't lose debt they have on you. You lose debt you have on others. For example, you lose debt on Hoel because Hoel owed you.
Yeah, I think that's what
but
he
that's
just
just
said.
my reading. I'm just throwing my.
So it's the column that says they owe you, which is cleared. Was that not clear from what I just said, Paul? You hold a debt, they owe you a debt. You hold that debt over them.
Yeah, but I owe the debt to Godfred, so I'm refusing to pay it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So it is the they owe you. It's the benefits you get from other people owing you debts that go. Sorry, it's not Godfred. You're still stuck with Godfred. That didn't make sense when I said it.
So I refuse to pay him a debt.
Yeah. You can either increase the debt or lose the benefits of the debt you currently hold on other people.
Yeah, I'll still lose the debt to other people. That's
Fine.
no hassle.
So Hoel and Cunobacha go to 0. Everything else stays where it is. Yeah. Okay. And he says, I will report to my lord, and he will know that you are not worthy of honor. And he disappears into
He is quite rightly so.
Well, it's becoming clear that's true. Icenius, what do you make of all of this?
I can't say do I overhear?
Which bits? What's
just gone on, yes.
I don't think so, because I think I deliberately wanted to get him on his own.
So I think that I'm confirmed in my belief in the prophesized importance of Cunobacha because of his central role in this. I think that it's I think that I'm already kind of spinning this into a tale in my head where kind of he's rooting out evil in the midst of everywhere he goes.
I think that that's probably a cue for God to take a hand. Your conviction is absolutely God-given. God calls in a debt. God says to you, bring that one to the true faith, or suffer him not to live. Yeah.
And yeah,
if you go for that, you can reduce the debt you currently owe God by one. Or we can move on to the I refuse this.
I
tell you what, I won't force you to give me an answer straight away, but that is on the table.
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as the fire kind of takes hold and people get a bit bored, gets a bit cold, people begin to drift back into the hall, do the rest of you make your way back into the Lord's Hall? Where you hear a scream. Servants, slaves, have been clearing this great mound of muck and shit and weed from before the seat of judgment. And they've cleared it and found something in it.
Is it shiny?
It is the, if only that were true. It is the head of Eorl who was sent into the mire to find out what was going on. Whether it was there when you left the hall or not is unclear. Cunobacha, looked like you were thinking about
Seems
something.
mystical. Have a look at it, Cunobacha. You first.
I will step over to Hoel and I will say that Saxon shaman worries me. He moved not one step when his lord was threatened. And here we are. We go to take care of the problem outside and we return and there's this head. Was it there beneath it, or is... I just say we keep our eyes open. You have sharper vision than I do on these things, because sometimes I'm too bloody-minded.
Thank you for your trust, but this, I believe, is your domain. I deal with physical threats and physical problems. You are, you always were the one. Like, I cannot talk to the head. I can smell it. It stinks.
No.
But I don't know where it were. And
I say
that's your domain.
Yeah.
Yes, keep an eye on the priest. Yes.
That's all I'm saying.
Russel or Icenius, do you have any reaction to the head being discovered?
Well, apart from thinking it could have been valuable,
And sadly not.
certainly not. No, again, this isn't really far in my, it's not taking this is my thing.
Icenius?
I think I'm all like, what foul witchcraft is this? I'm convinced that it is the work of the devil here.
And I think, because it's dramatically appropriate, we will see in the distant corner on the edge of the firelight, Aelnoth the priest, looking back at you. And I think that's probably where I'm going to draw an end to this episode, to be honest.
Can I do we have time for like one more action to maybe...
Go ahead. No, if there's something else you want to do.
I think Hoel would like not rush to it, but like politely approach the severed head and grab it by the hair and just, inspect it, because that's like, he can like inspect it, whether it was cut, torn off, beaten off.
Okay. That sounds like look about you. So
Yeah,
roll
so we like
plus
see
sense.
him looking around on this like severed head.
Okay. That sounds like look about you with sense.
6 + 1, it's 7 again.
Oh, so close. So you can ask me something about it, about the situation, the circumstances. It seemed like you wanted to know how was the head removed.
Yeah, because that's like information whether it was removed by magic, clearly chopped off, or there are like other signs of how the man died probably.
It was torn off. Yeah, and you can see the ragged bit of the spine that came out when it was just torn off. That's probably a point to pause on.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like a quick run up and down for stars and wishes, if that's okay, just so I can have some idea whether we've got anything specific in mind for next time.
And XP.
Oh, and XP. Well remembered, because I forgot to do that last time. So let's start with Icenius. You didn't invoke your reputation. You did, however, put yourself at risk to protect the innocent, so you get that one. So I think that nudges you up to 6, so that's cash 5 in and have 1 left. Am I right?
Yes.
So give some thought to, you'll find the details of advancement on the back of the playbook.
And I will make a note that I am due 1 advancement.
Okay. Cunobacha, you did invoke your reputation as a pagan mystic, and you certainly addressed a challenge mystically.
Right.
I think you put yourself at risk to indulge your burden. I think we saw the wrath.
I will gladly take that.
Yeah, do take that. I think that's only fair. So that, I think, again, fills and then clears your experience track with the option of an advancement. Our Outlaw Black Russel is already full. Some significant failures tonight all across the board. You did invoke your reputation, and you did address a challenge with guile. Yeah, that was the perfect opportunity to switch the box for the block of wood. So yeah, you clear, 2 left over, pick an advancement for next time. Yeah, basically the way that this works for the Monster Hunter is that everything you do, Hoel, that puts you at risk, do it while you are in the service of the Lord, so to speak, does indeed put yourself at risk for payment. So that's fine.
Okay.
I think you did try to address the challenge with cunning. I don't think it went terribly well in the end.
I
But
did try to grab the guy and end the
Exactly.
fight before it started.
Yeah, no, I think that's entirely fair. I think it was a reasonable approach to take. So you can add 2, which doesn't quite fill. You've raced along, given you've only been here for the 1 session. So thank you for the reminder to do that. Okay, stars and wishes. Let me start. Bodhi, any stars?
So first one is to you for all the hard choices, great hard choices. You're the master of hard choices, and secondly, always having something up your sleeve. I always kind of, I'm kind of, as whichever game I play of yours, it's always kind of like I always know there's more there, which is kind of intriguing and exciting.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
And also stars to Paul for that perfect timing on stealing the box, and I'm looking forward. I think a wish is to see that get more complicated and have a bit of a confrontation there, and stars to Lowell for just your continued use of that brilliant imagery with the dogs. I love that consistency. It's really atmospheric. And to Hoel to Powell for kind of pushing pushing forward the plot and kind of investigating and kind of really embodying the Monster Hunter. So kind of just kind of, yeah, I really enjoyed everyone's contributions there.
Great, thank you for that. Lowell, any stars? I'll come back for wishes.
Quite a few. On a weird tangential note, I wasn't aware of the distinction between the Saxon pagan and the Briton pagan, and you said that right at the beginning, and it like sent me down a little rabbit hole while we were playing and looking at that and finding that Nodens, who is of course referenced in Lovecraft, is one of these figures, but he's also one of the gods of dogs in this, as it turns out. So it was this wonderful circle of everything coming back. I loved Icenius like immediately going to confession and that not going well. I loved Russell. I failed. I'm going to move on. I'm still going to steal this box. That whole track there was really good, and Hoel going out, and I could really vividly see that scene with him turning around and seeing all those people there, and that sort of back and forth look. That was good. I want to stress just how strong the atmosphere is for me. Like Alan, this is great. I'm enjoying every moment of it. I'm feeling it. I'm really, really digging it. The hard choices are dynamite, but the feel of the whole thing, it just rings true for me. I'm loving it.
I'm very pleased. Paul, stars.
Yeah, you know, Bodhi with his continued sort of Frankish, knight, silly Knigget. I imagine him with a sort of a bowl sort of haircut. But yeah, you know, really playing it really to character. You know, the confession thing I thought was really, really good. You know, Powell, clearly, you know, you weren't involved last week, but I think you really sort of moved sort of to the front, leading the group. Yeah, not pushing us along, but you know, you jumped straight in there, and you know, you weren't at the back, you weren't the fifth wheel at all, and Lowell, you know, the smouldering all the time, just sat there, just you know, clearly playing somebody young, but clearly wise above his years, but there's always the burden there, and yeah, you know, as usual, Alan, you know, it goes, mate.
Yeah, I'd like to pick up a couple of stars. I think that I really am enjoying the dog magic power visuals. That's working really nicely. Yeah, the kind of surprises where character overtakes what might be the kind of cynical thing to do. So it is, Bodhi, when Icenius could stay and find out what's going on in the hall. No, I will leave and go to confession. Spot on. And likewise, Paul, it's one of those moments, isn't it, when you say, and what do you do, expecting you to leap to the aid of the chaos unfolding at one end of the hall, and you say, this might be the time to steal the box. So it's that kind of that switch. And Pavel, thank you for leaning into the your instincts lead you somewhere, lead you into danger. Thank you for really kind of leaning into that, because it made it easy to, you know, make something of it. So thank you for that. Okay, let me go back round and wishes. Complications of stealing, I've written down already, Bodhi, that we might get that across the next couple of sessions, but anything else specific for next time? You know, a move you want to try to trigger, or, you know, anything at all, folks?
I think I don't think I have anything else specific. I think I've triggered more or less all my moves now. So,
well, the nice thing is you'll have a new one for next time. So no, fine, more of the same. I'm writing down. Okay, Lowell, any wishes particularly for next time?
I want to actually. I have one more star I forgot to say. The head in the pile of muck is the best sort of folk horror like touch at the end. I thought that was, I just realized how brilliant that was. I've had a chance to trigger all my moves. That's been really good. So I'm gonna look and find one that I want to have, and I guess I'll want to lean into that. And I want to have a chance to bring my pride. I kind of put that as the temptation on the table, so I want to have a chance to help someone next time. But that's about it.
Okay. Looking at both of those characters, I'm looking at wishes now about the debts you owe gods, because I've got a bit of leeway there to begin to play with, against Cunobacha as well as Icenius. Paul, any wishes for Russell next time?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind some unsuspecting people to murder.
Yeah,
It's a move.
you need to have someone to sneak
I
up
would like
onto,
to
don't
kill
you?
some unsuspecting bystanders, maybe, just for the fun of it.
Someone to sneak up on. Yeah, that's true. And finally, Pavel, any particular wishes for Hoel next time?
I would like to fight some monster.
Time for a monster. Yeah. You just have to stop Cunobacha getting there first.
I was unprepared. I was about my axe and fire pot, so there was I would have burned the place down. And I'm also really interested in finding more. Why have we even found this dagger? This entire plot about this dagger, who is cunning against whom, it's very difficult for me to understand, but I would like to see it somehow play out. And whether it was meant to kill some demons, maybe it will be helpful. So I'm looking forward to seeing this as well.
I haven't forgotten the cross. I was curious if Russell had said, okay, then what does he want done? Oh, he wants the cross stolen. I was curious where that might go, but we'll worry about that at a different time. Okay, folks, I'm going to stop the recording. So wave bye to the internet.